Oh, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. A new face with us tonight. Trey is off enjoying family time this weekend, and Chris Nee was so kind to join Kevin and I. Kevin's an unexpected guest. He was out and about, didn't know he was going to be here for a while. I thought it was going to be me. Then Chris was ready to jump in, and oh boy, that was a lot of fun. Who had the most fun watching that game? Because it wasn't me.
Probably Brendan, because we forced him to fly there and do it.
Did he
Electric
have fun?
atmosphere you got to
Did he
enjoy.
allowed to have Chattanooga whiskey in the press box? Is that why he had fun? Because yikes.
It kind of, though, it's funny. It sort of was, well, turnovers weren't quite expected, but the atrociousness of two offenses was expected. I don't think anybody went into that game billing either team as having an offense that was very impressive. FSU actually ran for a season high tonight.
Yeah.
Duke played keep away after FSU gifted them 17 points on 3 of their 4 turnovers. I believe it's a season high 4 turnovers for the Seminoles. Also, tons of negatives, 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks allowed. Plenty of those were on Luke, plenty of those were on Brock, but most of that is the offensive line's inability to actually do their job. FSU committed 9 penalties, 65 yards, and there were also, at least 4 drops again. When Kyle Morlock is turning in the highlight of the night on a fake punt, that sort of speaks to the kind of football game you just had to put yourself through.
Yeah.
Is that the longest rush on the season?
I'm not sure. It was longest rush in this game. It's got to be in the ballpark. Yeah. I have notes up. I'll look real quick.
So you had 4 turnovers in the game. Chris, and they pointed it out on the broadcast, and then Chris was talking about it here just as he jumped in. 3 consecutive plays, the first team nationally, right?
First team in FBS football this year to commit a turnover on 3 consecutive offensive plays. And those 3 turnovers equated to 17 of Duke's points, including the pick 6 that got them going.
Yeah, so you had the 17 points that you gave up, and then I think if you look at the Malik Benson drop, the Kentron drop, and then there was another one that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head right now. You basically left 17 points out there on just drops alone. So, that'll lose you football games, right? That's 34 points right there, or 34-point swing.
But not only drops, you're also seeing the wide receivers. Like, we don't get to see a lot of the all-22 as the game's going on, but they showed one clip where Kentron Portier was running a crosser across the middle it was man free, so there's a guy manned up on him and a defender just standing in the middle of the field. And Portier just ran to the defender in the middle of the field and just kind of hung out with him. And Luke Krummenhoek's expecting him to cross the field and be able to beat the guy who's just standing in the middle of the field, right? Like, get open on the other side of the field. And he just didn't. He just kind of stood with the one defender. He actively covered himself. And you're just like, these guys aren't catching the ball and the routes aren't making any sense. The quarterbacks look like they were slow processing, but how much is the wide receivers just like running routes that just don't even make sense? Like, what is going on the back end?
That's a great point, but I want you to process that Kyle Morlock does indeed have FSU's longest rush of the season through 7 games.
He does. Let's go. I thought it. Oh my god! I thought so.
Maybe we found Morlock's true calling. I'm not going to say you can't drop it if they're handing it off to you, but I feel like the probability of a drop is much lower.
Much lower.
I normally have an idea of like where to go with these things. Tonight, I just don't even know. Is this rock bottom? Let's start there. Is this rock bottom?
The age-old question of, is this rock bottom? I feel like during the Willie era, we wrote that like week to week, every week. So I try to avoid it. I feel like it's a cliche. I mean, this stinks. They've never lost to Duke. Duke isn't particularly good. Duke is sound, but they're not good.
No, they're not good.
I mean, Duke had 110 on the ground tonight, 3.1 per rush. They had 70 passing yards in this game on 50% passing. Their longest completion, I believe, was 15 yards to Brown. I think they only had 4 completions or 5 completions total that were more than 10 yards in this game. I mean, it was keep away. FSU gifted them 17 points with the turnovers, and then Duke just played defense because they're good at defense, and FSU's not good at offense, and Duke won the line of scrimmage. And the rare time that it felt like FSU had any momentum, either a turnover, for example, to Cam Davis play where it looked like Cam did get hurt on that play disappointingly, or a penalty where you took a second and navigable and turn it into a second and long, third and long, and put yourself in a rough spot. You have a field goal situation earlier in the game where it clearly didn't go well between the battery, whether it was a snap or the hold. I think it was a snap.
It looked like
it just didn't go well. That's 3 points off the board. FSU did nothing to help their case tonight, and they did everything to help Duke's cause.
Yeah. Just Lord,
if you're going to be in a defensive matchup, you can't be making turnovers.
Yeah,
like
no doubt.
It's just the first rule of like, I know you want to be moving the football. I know you're frustrated. I know you want to get it back. I know you want to get the passing game going, but you got to make better decisions. I don't know why they asked Brock Glenn to throw that ball.
You're talking about the field out for the first pick?
Yeah, from one hash mark all the way across the field. That's a 40-yard throw.
That's a
very.
It was against Chandler Rivers, who is a quality player. Their entire secondary is a pretty sound group. Jalen Stinson, Chandler Rivers, the other safety whose name's escaping me, who actually leads them in picks entering the game. But yeah. And then Brock saw a ghost on his third turnover. He had to fumble second, and then the third was the interception. And that was either complete miscommunication again with route and pass, or he just didn't see. I think it was Nicholson that he basically hit in the numbers with the throw. Just kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, the first one just seemed like a coaching error. Like, why are you asking that kid to throw? That's a DJ throw. That's not a Brock throw. And he threw it late, which kills you. The fumble's unfortunate. Those things happen over the course of a football game. They'll be frustrated about it because I know they work on ball security and those types of things. But the last one you hit the guy right in. He's not reading that. I mean, he clearly didn't read it. He expected, he anticipated that guy moving. The guy didn't move. He threw it right to him. But what's frustrating for me is, like, outside of that, I thought Brock was doing some decent stuff. Obviously, running the football. They wanted to make a point of him running the ball or incorporating the quarterback's legs in. I thought he did a decent job. I wouldn't call it splendid. Obviously, they didn't score a touchdown, but I thought he moved around okay and he gave you a chance. This is it's the worst offense in football, in college football. And it's not for a reason, because it's everybody. It's the quarterback not making plays correctly at the right times. Your running backs aren't helping you out. You're not helping yourself out at running back. LT breaks a big run, then you go away from him and you go to somebody else. And what? I just don't. I have a hard time wrapping my head around some of the rotations. You're moving the ball offensively. You put TJ Ferguson in, and he immediately gets blown up and puts you in negative situations. It's very frustrating for me to watch some of the decision making that goes on throughout the course of a football game with this group, especially on the offensive side.
The feel for this personnel is frankly just absurd. I don't know why Lawrence Toafili and Ja'Kai Douglas aren't getting 90% of your targets. They're the only guys on the field that have any sort of dynamism to them. I think Cam's going to be a good running back. I just don't think he's processing the game quite there yet right now, and I don't think he's making his reads well. But also, you have no skill players. You have no one you can rely on. There's no one here, and it's unacceptable. It's what this wide receiver room looks like is probably the worst wide receiver room in the country, and this is year 5.
To incorporate tight ends into that conversation, I think there's the early attempt to Landon Thomas. I don't know if he should have sat a little bit harder on that, or if it was just a miss on the throw. In practice, sometimes that looks like a comeback curl. In the game, it seemed like it was just sort of behind him. Not 100% sure on that one. Then you had the late one to Amari Williams, where they just didn't connect on the left side. I can't remember another throw to a tight end. Was there another one?
There was a low one to
Amari Williams.
Yeah, there was a low one to Amari Williams.
Yeah, that was late in the game.
Yeah.
Second or third last series.
No, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to the tight ends tonight, which is interesting because they've been incorporated quite a bit recently in the passing game. Seemed like maybe they wanted them to block a little bit more when they were in line, but as far as the passing game goes, they were not guys that they were looking to get the ball to. And I don't know, it was interesting. You came out the first drive, you hit a screen, best screen that we've seen from them this year so far. You go back to it later, doesn't look as good. You get the block in the back by Jalen Brown. They try to get outside zone going with, I would say, no success. It didn't work tonight. I didn't think they had a successful outside zone run on the night. You got some inside zone runs that go. All right, what is? I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, guys. People are saying my audio is not so good.
Yeah, filtered through his microphone. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's not entirely a skill problem because there's some real coaching questions. You're at a point with 6 minutes left in the game. You need to maximize possessions, and you're running the clock down almost every snap. Yeah, you're trying to get your protection set. You're trying to get the offensive line in the right place, and they're still missing assignments. Like, clearly, what you're doing is not working. This is not what their offense looked like at Memphis. They were not sitting here doing all these pre-snap checks. This is something they started doing last year, and I think it's been a mistake. It's running the clock out on close games. It's limiting possessions, and you're the team that's going to make more mistakes, but you're the more talented team. So you need to maximize possessions. You need to make this game longer, and they're not. They're shortening the game. They're trying to get a perfect play in, and it's not working. And you're not doing. You're giving the defense time to give you different looks. You're playing a chess game where you're not getting an advantage, and you keep playing it. I mean, do some no huddle, move the ball fast, change your tempos, because right now what you're doing isn't working, and it's not putting your guys in a position to succeed. Because this talent isn't as bad as 1 in 6. This is a coaching issue to be this monstrably bad.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, it's all of the above. I mean, we
True. That's true.
can
It
sit and
has
have
to
the
be.
conversation. It's not the talent, it's the coaches. It's the coaches, it's not the talent, it's the talent. What? At this point, everybody's taking a bite of this shit sandwich, and nobody's enjoying it. I mean, this is where we're at. When you're 1-6 and you just lost to Duke for the first time in program history, I mean, that's where we are. I think what frustrates me the most is this is coming off of a bye week. To not be able to go score an offensive touchdown off of a bye week it's unfathomable to me. This is a good offensive staff. These are guys that have been able to put points on the board schematically, and it really boggles my mind. I'm sitting here trying to figure out where the heck to go with this whole thing, and I can't find a direction because of just how lost this program is right now.
Some numbers to this conversation. FSU had 14 drives. They averaged 20 yards per drive. Now, some of that is washed out a little bit because of the 3 consecutive play issue, but still, it speaks to they didn't really have sustained drives. Actually, arguably the best drive on the evening was a 50-yard drive that set up the field goal that didn't get field to launch. They also had 56 yards on the drive where they did make the late field goal, the last score for FSU. And truthfully, the best drive kind of felt like the Cam Davis one right before the fumble. It was one of the few times it felt like they had a little bit of something going.
Mm-hmm.
But Kev's point, they were playing against the clock there, but they went 6 for 52 on that drive before the fumble happened. But yeah, other than that, they didn't have really any drives of real conviction. Opening drive was 46 yards, set up the field goal. In between, not a whole lot. And I mean, FSU went 3 and out 3 times. Duke, God bless you, 7 3 and outs. That's pretty damn hard to do in a football game. But Duke did it.
I said in my score prediction this is going to be a slugfest between the 50s, and it ended up being more like between the 20 and the 50 because nobody really could get the ball moving. Chris, I've got a question for you, and
I probably don't have an answer, but fire away.
Well, no, I think you will. I think you will. If you were sitting in that media room tonight after this game, what do you want to hear Mike Norvell say? What makes you? I don't want to say feel better. But what makes you think? Okay, all right, maybe.
So I felt this way after SMU, where I felt like there was some quit in the DNA in that game. I didn't feel like there was necessarily quit tonight. I just don't think they played worth tonight. Mm-hmm. I think at this point it's a very simple approach of how do you look yourself in the mirror and sleep well at night with how you're playing football? There are too many individual mistakes and too many collective mistakes on this football team, and it's mind-blowing. And I know there's some youth being pushed into it, but it's been an issue even before the youth movement. So I don't use the youths as an excuse for all this. FSU has to be a team that doesn't hate themselves, and too often they go out there and play football games where they look like they hate themselves.
Yep.
I mean, the pre-snap penalty stuff, the 4 offsides in the first half on the defensive line, even if you think the officials in the wrong there, like, holy hell, you've done it 2-3 times already. Like, take a note. They're clearly looking at it. They're going to call it on you. Do what you got to do to make sure you're not giving away a few free yards.
Yep.
I think it's about, you got to find yourself. Like, they're not playing for anything at this point other than to basically disrupt Miami's season and, beat 2 rivals down the stretch. That's what they have, and try not to get embarrassed by Charleston Southern. That is what remains for them. It's not bowl games. It's not playing for something more. It's individual pride. And hell, if guys want to stay or want to go, put something on film, especially if you want to go. Like, this football team lost its way many weeks ago. They had an opportunity here to do a little self-correction coming out of a bye with competition ramped up a little bit because younger guys are getting more opportunities, which means older guys are losing opportunities. And it felt that way in practice with regards to that idea being understood by all parties. And they went out there and played horrible.
Yeah.
And that's on them. Like, I don't think Mike Norvell and his staff have done many things correctly this season. I think Mike Norvell is currently swimming as a play caller, and I think he's been that way for weeks. He's been stubborn with personnel decisions, as has his staff, and there's plenty of people on that staff that deserve a healthy amount of blame. Ron Dugans, for example, get in line. Your receivers are playing horrendous. They don't block very well. Jalen Brown blocking when you can read the numbers in the name. That's a simple football concept. You don't do it. Dropping balls, awful. But there's plenty of blame to go around across the personnel and the coaching staff, without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
To me, there has to be some level of personal pride where you just don't want to look like complete and utter ass every time you take a football field, and currently you do.
Yeah. I would. Yeah, I would. Maybe a way to go about this. I want to talk about the quarterbacks. I want to talk about if anybody impressed you tonight, or if anybody gave you a reason to say, okay, that looks like you can work with that. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about the defense, because I feel like the defense, and I've felt like this for a while now, they continue to give you a chance in these football games. That was a bad offense. That was it was almost as bad of an offense as yours, which is pretty stinking bad. But the defense gives you a chance. They continue to go out there and fight. They've had times where the games have gotten away from them, but a lot of that I feel like stems from just how bad this offense is. But they lined up tonight and they gave you a shot every time they stepped on the field. It was unfortunate. They got away from there in the fourth quarter. You had the pick get called back because of a penalty. I didn't think a whole lot about the penalty, but that's, these are ACC officials and you're going to get those kinds of things. That's the biggest. I mean, you lost because they got 4 and you got none.
They keep failing the mission.
But they don't. They talk, and Kev, you've mentioned this last time, and I know you're getting ready to say it now. Like, they talk about being takeaway oriented, but they don't ever do anything schematically to put themselves in positions to get takeaways. Go ahead, Kev. Rant.
It makes no sense. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. You're like a press match team. You're not throwing anything at these teams that confuses them. Like, and your corners are playing. I don't know. You had chances for picks. You had guys in a good position, but you don't.
8 PBUs on the evening.
Yep.
But none of these guys are attacking the ball as a corner. You're not teaching. Like, they don't have the mechanics to do it. It's wild. How are you being turnover oriented when you're just sitting in man coverage all game? Duke knew that you were going to be in man coverage. They ran slants at you all day, and if the receivers didn't just suck, they would actually have been successful. And you didn't change anything. You trusted your defenders, and they did a great job. But they were not put in a great position to succeed. You're not doing anything that confuses quarterbacks. You're not bringing guys to the line, dropping them back, trying to get in passing lanes. You're just not. You're not. This scheme isn't built for turnovers, and that's fine, but you need to be elite at other things. And to be honest, when your offense sucks this bad, you better change gears because your defense needs to score points. Period. Like it's not the defense's fault. The defense did fine, but they say they're built for turnovers. They're not. They're just simply not. They're a bend but don't break defense. That's how they're schemed up to be. This posturing that they're going for takeaways, how Adam Fuller would say it, is false. They're just not. And I don't know. My problem's not with the defense, so I don't want to belabor the point. But
Yeah.
I kind of wish Zach was here so we could talk about Randy Shannon a little bit.
Duke only averaged 13 yards per drive in the game. So the defense did its job in general. Kev's greater point is that when your offense is morbidly abysmal, which FSU's currently is, you got to generate it some other way. And FSU does not generate any takeaways. They also, and Duke got rid of the ball relatively fast because most things they threw were either quick screens or slants, very little vertical passing game. So they had 24 dropbacks. You have no sacks. And truthfully, not a whole lot of pressure on Murphy, who is completely a non-rushing threat. So he's a guy that when he drops back, he drops back. So it's sort of like, yeah, the defense in general, yes, they did their job. You look at total yards, obviously put in a lot of bad situations by turnovers by the offense. So FSU in no way lost this game because of the defense, but the defense currently really in no way can also help FSU win games because they're not generating anything. They're making up for nothing that the offense is incapable of doing.
Yeah, your defense needs to be offense for you, and it's just not.
But that's asking not asking a lot, but like it's unfair to the defense. Like the defense showed up and played a football game, and they were good. I think good is a fair word. They weren't bad. They weren't great. They weren't mediocre. They were good. But like that's all they were. And FSU's offense is so bad that like you're hoping for something. You need a spark. Duke won the game because their defense went and created 7 points instantly and gained 17 points because of turnovers.
And you've got players that can do that.
Well, they got the ball back and gave the offense opportunities. They didn't do anything to truthfully really generate those opportunities.
All right.
And they could have. That's the thing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying they could have. That's what I'm saying is that the defense did just fine, but there were opportunities to make a play on the football. There were opportunities to get turnovers or opportunities to flip field, and they just didn't. And so you're looking at it. It's a B+ performance.
So, like examples, Kevin Knowles at the goal line when he's between the receiver's arms, he is in better position for the ball than the receiver. Ventrell Cypress on at least one, if not two plays, was definitely in position. I thought Ventrell actually played pretty well, but again, it's a matter of go and get the ball and take it back, create that swing of momentum instead of allowing it to be put on somebody's foot and return to your offense via punt.
Yep. Well, let's transition to the quarterbacks. Brock Glenn started. Brock Glenn turned the ball over 3 times in a row, literally. Went to Luke Kremenhawk. Didn't. We'll talk about it. Went to Luke. Gave Luke an opportunity. Went back to Brock. Brock finished the game out. I thought Brock was playing well. Said it earlier. I thought Brock was playing okay, not well. I thought he was playing okay. I thought he was using his feet, getting around. Thought he was seeing the field okay. Then all of a sudden you get the first pick. Then you get the fumble. Then you get the third pick or the second pick, and it looked like everything had left him at that point. You go to Luke. I thought that Luke, and tell me what you guys think. I thought that Luke looked lost for the majority of his snaps. I didn't think he was seeing the field very clearly. Didn't think he was reading things very well. Thought he was looking at the rush a little bit too much. Obviously had the one really nice throw. But other than that, I didn't think he was seeing what was going on in front of him, but not necessarily. Maybe it's hard to judge on the first watch because they're not exactly giving him a lot to look at as far as the skill guys. So
I think it's an internal clock thing. It's ultra difficult for anybody to understand their internal clock until they actually do it in a game. And Duke's going to dial up pressure. Duke always dials up pressure, but when it's fresh meat out there, they're definitely going to do it to them. I'm interested how Luke's game would have went if Hakeem catches a ball before the half, because it's an excellent ball. It would put FSU in position to probably get at least 3 points before the half. It's dropped. I think it would have been 3 straight completions for Luke if it's caught there. Instead, he goes into the half. I think he's 2 of 5 at that point, gets a couple opportunities in the third quarter, and then they go back to Brock. I didn't think Luke was great. I didn't think he was awful by any stretch. I'm glad they got him out there. I think they need to keep getting him out there. I don't really know what FSU's playing for at this point other than an exhibition to figure out who and what they could possibly be in 25 and who and what fits into that. And I think it's important to keep playing Luke and giving him some opportunities here and there, unless you feel like Brock is definitively playing better, which I don't feel like Brock is definitively playing better, especially when he's not valuing the football.
It was interesting to me. I was watching, doing a little sideline watching as they were, the camera's panning around. After Brock's first pick, there was a communication issue of some sort. They were going over signals on the sideline. Mike and Tony and Brock and Luke was there, and Mike basically left Brock and Tony and went straight to Luke and started talking to Luke about what was going on, making sure that he understood what the miscommunication was so that didn't happen when he had that opportunity. That stood out to me. And then I thought when they went to Luke that they were going to stick with him. So I was disappointed that they went back to Brock, just because from the standpoint, I know you don't want to lose to Duke and all that stuff, but you're not playing for anything. You start jerking these guys around and you're
getting them both to transfer.
Blow it. You're going to blow it. I think you got to go to one. I think you got to stick with one. And this is the direction we're heading, unless it's just so abysmally bad that they are killing you. Yeah. Grab bag. I'm glad Bill said this. Mike talked 4 flipping weeks ago about grab bagging, and it has felt like nothing but grab bagging since. And it felt like jerking back and forth between these quarterbacks tonight was grab bagging. What are you now? You're trying to find a spark now, of all flipping times, you're trying to find that spark.
Well, it was a way to punish Brock after 3 straight turnovers. You saw what's exciting about Luke Kromenhoek. You saw it. He threw the 2 best balls in the night by any team.
Yep.
That ball to Hakeem, the ball to Kentron. Those are two great passes. You saw some athleticism. I think he got
completed though.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah,
sorry, Kev.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, judging by that standard, Tom Brady would be terrible.
No, I wasn't. I'm not putting that on Luke. I'm just pointing out that he went 3 of 7, and his 2 best balls were 2 of the 4 that didn't end up getting completed.
So you see what's exciting? Like when he has the time to throw, when he can process it, he's got an electric arm. He's plenty athletic. He the pocket presence isn't there. That's going to come with time. The processing in the field isn't there. That's going to come with time. He's going to be a good quarterback, whether it's here or somewhere else. But yeah,
sorry, had to.
I mean, this offensive line was getting driven back into like this. These weren't exactly easy pockets to navigate, if I'm being honest. They got pockets.
The FSU offensive line did a poor job.
Can we move with the conversation?
Go ahead, start, Kev. Talk about the offensive line.
That group is so far gone and lost, and it's not going to get any better this year. 6 combinations in 7 games. I think 9 different guys have played considerable snaps in the sense of starting.
You lost Darius tonight, it looks like.
Jeremiah Byers has been, his bad is always going to be awful, and my God, it shows up at the worst times.
It really does.
Robert Scott comes in the game, a guy who probably should have been medically DQ'd because physically he's just not capable of playing this game against high-level Power 5 football anymore. Immediately gets a hold. Darius got banged up there and it didn't look good. We'll see how that plays out this week. Your guard situation, since Richie got hurt, not that it was very good with Richie, but it was better with Richie, is completely, up the creek. You keep playing Ferguson, and he does more damage to you than he ever does good for you. I can't remember the last time I remember Ferg really making a block where I'm like, that was a really good block. Too often it's like that penalty is definitely on TJ Ferguson, or hey, he played patty cake with two guys at the same time. Yeah, no, it's the group's miserable. You got to coach around it some way, some form. I know that's difficult. It's part of the reason they're such an abysmal running team. But if you're going to play these two quarterbacks, you're going to have to make some decisions with what you're willing and able to do as a passing offense with that offense line trying to block it, because it's not there. I thought early in Brock's play before the turnovers, I think he had 2-3 successive runs, working to the left side, very quick decisions going. I thought that was sort of like, that's what it's got to be, because that's what they are. But, the scoreboard changed and took some of that out of your pocket.
Yeah, it felt like a shift in their philosophy of being willing to get the quarterback, trying to get that +1 to help the run game get going. And you saw some success from Brock with that. Didn't see as much of the screen combination off of that we've seen in the past. Maybe you just couldn't see it because it was off the screen. I'll be curious to look for that when we do film review, if they had that attached or not. But Brock had a couple good runs. I don't know how I didn't love the Jalen early to guard move. I'm anxious to watch him again. They had the one inside zone where the nose and the D tackle stunted, and it got stuffed on what was a 3rd and 2. Thought Jalen took a bad first step, and it got him out of position that he couldn't pick that up. I like Andre Otto, but he's a guy that's got a ways to go. I mean, he's a young player who's got a bright future, but he's got a ways to go. I think he's in his spot where he needs to be. I think he's a guard for you long term. I don't think Jalen Early's a guard. He's light. They wanted to get more athletic. They got more athletic in there. Then they still can't run counter. Like, I don't freaking know anymore, dude. Everybody keeps asking it. I don't know why they haven't tried it. They're trying.
I think he could. The feet are light enough for him to handle it, and the length is there, but they have no interest in doing it, it seems. And with the
tackle's not working,
Washington.
Yeah.
The issue is that tackle, they don't really have an next guy up. I don't think Lucas Simmons is ready for prime time. Losing last year hurt him, and he had a decent off season, but like in season, it just hasn't been very good consistently. There's never been a time where I'm like, man, they need to get him some reps. Watching him in practice. Armella's a guy they moved inside the guard, so he's not really a tackle option for them either. And Armella's not a guy they seem interested in playing, and that's earned through practice with him. At this point, they don't really have options. Like, they felt great about O-line depth going into the season. Nah, man, it's bad. It's not any good. It's not going to get better, and as it get banged up, it's only going to get worse.
It's really.
We're closing in on territory where, say, Washington is hurt.
Yeah.
Can Rob Scott play 66 snaps in a game, for example, like tonight?
No.
So who's your next guy? Is it Jake Rizzi, who is a Ivy League transfer who physically is not built like a tackle at this level?
No, you're going to have to play Lucas Simmons some. I mean, you're going to have to get him out there and let him get some burn.
I know, but they're so hesitant to play a young guy because they don't want to damage a young guy like they did to some of these guys who are currently on roster. At least with Rizzi, he's an experienced guy who knows how to lose. And I know people will laugh at that concept, but it's true with O-linemen. There's a degree of, brush it off, go play the next snap. That comes with having a lot of snaps under your belt like Rizzi does.
I think the reality
is, can he play tackle?
They've repped him there. I don't think he can at this level. I don't, when you're playing Notre Dame and Miami and Florida, who all has capable ends. No, I don't think he's.
You're going to have to play. I mean, you're going to have to play everybody at this point. I mean, you're rotating Ferguson in a guard. I mean, if you lose Washington for the long term, I mean, you're going to need to play Lucas Simmons a little bit. You're going to need to play Rizzi a little bit. You're going to need to empty the bench and just throw bodies at it and see if somebody can give you anything. They've run out of answers. I mean, we're not running out of answers. You're out of answers. They're gone. They're out the window at this point. You're staring down the barrel of a 2-10 season or a 1-11 season potentially. I don't think Charleston Southern's a game you're going to lose, but I'm not going to sit here and predict a freaking win at this point for it.
I'm not convinced you can move the football against much of anybody.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that you could switch this offensive line with basically any other offensive line in the country, and it would be an upgrade. And I don't know how you got to this point. I don't know how. I'm watching missed blocks, missed assignments on defensive linemen on run plays. Like, you should know who you're blocking. You're stepping forward at them. Like, I could probably count five, 6 times when there was just a defensive tackle that was just in the backfield because they just didn't know who to block or where to block. So like, and then in the pass sets, the tackles are just overwhelmed by just the most basic bull rush. We thought it was a red flag when Byers was getting just worked by who was it in the spring game?
We
Aaron
haven't seen him
Hester.
play at all.
He's a redshirt freshman, right? Just undersized, kind of.
I think he's third year.
Okay, third year guy. He was just dominating Byers, and we're like, well, maybe Aaron Hester's just really adept at a bull rush. Maybe you have tackles that can't block defensive ends. Period. End of story. And like, it's worse. It's worse now that Washington is out.
What's frustrating for me is there was a lot of conversation in the offseason about you're going to change up some of your pass sets. You're going to try to short set more to try to play to his strengths a little bit more. And just that all just seemed to have gone out the window. You were going to bring over some of Oregon State's concepts. That never happened. You were going to change up your pass protection and short set some more. That never happened. Feels like there were so many conversations from the preseason that just have not translated. They've not happened. We've reached the portion of the chat where everybody wants to know who we're going to fire. We're not going to have that conversation. This just isn't the appropriate time to be firing and hiring and doing all these different things with people. So I think we're 37 minutes in. I've banged my head on this wall as much as I can for tonight. I know we'll be here with film review this week at some point. Kev, Trey, and I, Chris and Brendan and Zach will probably. I'm sure we'll get out on OTB this week with more of their thoughts. This was instant. I don't even know what to call it. This was an instant something.
Could finish on a good note.
Yeah, go for it.
Who were you satisfied? That's a shitty word selection. Who played well? Who played well tonight, in your opinion? Like, pick one guy. And Alex Mastromanno's an automatic qualifier, so you can't use him.
Yeah. Fitzgerald also. Because
I was going to take specialists are off the board, but Sam Singleton can be your pick too, because he did it for the first.
Go ahead, Kev. You get to go first.
My pick is Juice Cryer. I'm a big Juice guy. He's a guy who didn't even what was the recruit? So he was a Northwestern bound, and then they had the scandal, and then he ended up here. I don't even think they meant to. He just kind of showed up.
Yeah. They did recruit Juice in high school. He did visit FSU, but he chose Northwestern, like the academics, was satisfied with that, and then situation there changed, so he decided to get out.
So like the one guy that like didn't really actually commit to you originally is your best defender on the field right now. He plays with an enthusiasm that other people don't play with. He has a level of football intelligence that just seems to be devoid throughout the rest of the team. Like, he makes plays. He knows where to be. He knows how to take on blockers to help out guys behind him. He's aware in a way that, like, even the good players, like, I think Finchal Cypress had a great game, but he wasn't making the next play. He was making the play that was in front of him, but Juice Cryer feels like someone who's able to make the next play, able to make the plus play. And he's an exciting kid to watch play football.
Who was I optimistic about? Cryers was definitely number one for me.
Yeah.
No dropped passes by Morlock.
Jesus.
It's a big run.
Yeah. Longest run of the season, Kyle Morlock.
Puke.
31 yards.
I continue to like what I see from KJ Kirkland. I think he's going to be a player for you. I'm just trying to find somebody on offense. Like I like what the potential of Otto looks like. Like when he puts it together, it looks really good. It's just fleeting at times for him because he's so young. So I'm going to ride the Andre Otto train and just see where it takes me over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, offensively, I think I'd go with Jakai. He caught everything that came his way. He was 4 for 4 on targets, led the team in receiving yards. It's a small pole to jump over because nobody else did a whole lot there. Hat tip to Sam Singleton. The kick return was a nice spark.
And his mom. Shout out to
Gave him
Sam.
FSU's need to find something in a return game. Entering tonight, their longest punt return had been 3 yards. McCoy actually exceeded that tonight on a punt return. Kick return wise, they really hadn't had one. They had felt like they were close a couple times this year. They finally got one. And yeah, that put them in a position where he actually felt like they had a shot of trying to win this game, despite how dreadful the first half had gone for them. So, yeah.
And on that note, our fleeting optimism here at the very end, our ability to find our ability to make the glass half full for everybody as we close out this wonderful 1-6 loss, first ever loss to Duke instant reaction stream. For Chris Nee, for Kevin Little, and for myself, Coach Adam Brown, we'll see you soon.